Hello there, Carpologists. I'm Joe, and today you join me on the banks of Miners Fishery, which is a very local day ticket venue to me. And rather beautifully, I've got the whole place to myself, and that could be due to the fact that it's a very cold time of year and a lot of fair weather anglers tend to hang up their gear. Fine for me, because it means I've got the whole place to myself, so I can chop and change, move around, and if I see a fish somewhere that I'm not fishing, I can whack a rod over to it. And today's method is adjustable zig fishing. That's another reason I've pitched up over here is one, the sun is beautiful and warm over here, but the sun is directly on the lake in this part. Everywhere else seems to be in shade. So it should be the part of the lake that gets the most warmth, the most sun, and hopefully is going to draw more of the fish in. I've got with me today some adjustable zig setups from Fox, so we're going to rig them up, ping them out, and see if we can get ourselves a December carp. I've put the first rod out already. I've just rigged up the second one ready to go, but before I ping it out, I'll quickly show you how this all works. This is the Zig float kit as it comes from Fox. You've got the float in there, a optional boom section, a swivel, and a little sleeve to go over your rig. Now how this works is dead simple. I've just set it up in a matter of minutes. You firstly slide on the boom. Now the boom is optional. This is mainly for if you're fishing in weed or silt, and what I found with this place is there is a low lying level of silt, so if that plugs into the bottom, I've still got that boom section to make sure that the float is still free from any inhibitants, so that it can still pop up and down without getting stuck in the silt or weed with it. But you can take that boom section off and fix the lead straight into there, so it's a little neater, and if you're fishing on clearer bottoms, no need for the boom, then you can go for it for that option. But like I said, for today, I'm using the little boom section just to ensure that my float is popping up perfectly, and that sits really nicely like that, as you can see, because it's got this little sort of sloped eye to it on the lead setup. It means that it sits perfectly down one side of the float, because the float also has a matching slope section, so it always sits on one side. So on the cast, everything's nice and neat. Onto the other end, you've got a swivel, which again is supplied in the kit, and that just pulls into the bung on the bottom of the float like so, and then you attach your rig to the other end of the swivel and then put the little tail rubber on, which again is supplied in the kit, onto your zig. Now the reason you'd use an adjustable is one, if you're fishing a really deep venue and obviously you don't want a really deep zig, because that's going to be a nightmare trying to play a fish and land them. This enables you to have, what I think I've got about 1.5 foot, 2 foot long zig there, so a bit of distance away from the float, but that means I can bring it all the way up to the surface and then bring it down a couple of feet without having, I don't know, a 15 or 16 foot long zig, depending on the depth obviously that you're fishing. And another option for it is that you can change the height you're fishing at very quickly. So say that I wasn't getting any luck at 6 foot, I wanted to bring it down a foot, all I've got to do is bring in a foot of line and tighten up on the clutch, so you can adjust it that way. And now I'm going to ping this one out and show you exactly how I set the depth on it. Now, as I just mentioned, one of the main benefits about using an adjustable zig is that you don't have to have a stupidly long zig to get the depth you require, because you can adjust it. So that makes it easier to play the fish and land them, but also casting out, because you haven't got a stupidly long zig tailing behind you that can get caught in anything. You've only got a 2 foot rig. It's pretty much the same as casting out any other rig, so you don't have to worry about tangles on the cast. I'm just going to put this out right in mid-water, where I know it's about 7.5 feet. Let it go slack until I can see the float on the top. There we are, so the float is on the surface, I know it's uninhibited, it's not stuck in the bottom, and I can see exactly where it is. Now there's two different ways you can set the depth. There is one, you can wind it right down until you feel the resistance, and then let off a foot, let off another foot, and keep on bringing it up through the surface layers. Or where I know it's only about 7 foot out there, I want it to be about 2 foot under. Now my rod has a foot marker on it, so I'm going to bring it back to the my bank sticks, put it on there, and then peel back the line, so bring it back down 2 foot, so I know exactly 2 foot underneath the water. So like I said, you can use like a marker float, bringing it up or bringing it down. Either way gets you the same results. So I've now got the rod back on the rest and ensured that my reel handles are as level as possible, which is key to success. Now my float has just disappeared from the surface where I've brought it back, so I'm going to let off some line until it reappears. Which is there, so there we go. I can now see the float exactly where it is, and I know it's about 7 foot out there. So I want to be 2 to 3 foot below the surface, so I'm going to bring it down 2 or 3 foot. So I'm going to start bringing in the line until the float disappears. That's gone. Keep going, still see the zig hook bait, which is just starting to move. There we are, it's dipped, so it's right about to go into the surface. Now I want this 2 foot below, or I'm going to go 3 foot below on this one, because I've got 2 foot below on the other one. So what I'm going to do is, this rod has a 1 foot marker, most rods have a marker on them. So I'm just going to pinch the line at foot and bring it back to the spool. There we go, that's 1 foot under, pinch again. That's 2 foot under. Pinch again. That's now exactly 3 foot under the surface. Clip the bobbin on. I now know I'm fishing at 4 foot off the deck in 7 foot of water, which is exactly where I want to be. And if that doesn't work, I can release a foot, let it come up, or I can bring in another foot and bring it down a foot again, and just chop and change it. It's so easy to change it about. Oh, this right rod's been out about 40 minutes and no interest. I'm going to move it because it is in the shade still, and because the sun is the only source of warmth today, I'm going to bring it around a bit closer to the left rod and just go for a different height. I'm going to show you a different way of setting the height rather than bringing it down from the surface. Let's give that a little boost before it goes out. Now where I'm going to put it is just off the corner of the island. Not exactly sure of the depth, so that's where you can check the depth and adjust your zig in a different way, a bit more like a marker float. So I'm just going to bring this out. Perfect. There we are. So the float is now on the top. Now to check the exact depth, just like I would with the marker float, I'm going to wind that back in until I feel the float hit the bottom, which is there. And this has got a marker line on it of a foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, letting the slack take up when I do that. 5, 6, 7, and the float's just appeared. So 7 foot there. So pretty much the same regimented now, which is what I thought it would have been. But now I know it's 7 foot, and that was from a point, if I just cast a showing fish, or I still want to use a zig and I didn't know the depth, I can keep doing that until I see the float on the surface. Now again, I'm going to put this one probably 2 feet under the surface. I know it's 7 foot, so I'm just going to bring it down 2 foot, so I'm fishing at 5 foot. Again, you could bring it back, wind it all the way down to you feel the resistance of the float again, and then let off from the bottom if you only wanted to be a couple of foot off the deck. But remember the depth of your zig that you've put on at the time. So if I want to be 2 foot under the surface there, again, I need to wait until I can see the zig hook bait on the surface, then bring that down 2 foot again. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so there we are. The hook bait's just about to disappear. Same as before. Bring them back a foot at a time. This one I want to be 2 foot under the surface. There's 1 foot. 2 foot. That's exactly where I want it. And I can do this all day, keep moving the rod around, keep changing the height until hopefully I'll strike gold. Well, I stayed in that first swim far too long, and probably because I was enjoying the sun a lot more than the carp were. I was enjoying it, but a fish rolled right down here in the shade with the wind pushing where it probably feels about 6 or 7 degrees colder than where I was down there. But I've got to go where the fish show at this time of year. Nothing else is shown bar that one fish, and I've already had a little touch on the left rod. But one more thing I forgot to mention with the Zig float kit is that you can have it either a fixed lead setup or a drop off depending on what you want. Today I'm using a fixed lead setup with the boom just because it is a bit silty out there, so I want the boom so that it's clear of the bottom, but I don't need to drop the lead because there's no snags really where I'm fishing. It's all fairly regimented bottom and clear, so I'm not worried about getting caught up in anything. But if you did want to drop the lead, then you just take out the plastic bung which holds the lead in place and put in a PVA bung that Fox sell as well. So you get a few casts out of the PVA bung, and then once that dissolves, as soon as that lead comes under any kind of tension or pressure, it will pull out and then you're lead free. But like I said, I don't need to use that today, but it's completely up to you. Well, unfortunately, it's nearly time to call it a day. I'm going to stay on probably another 20 minutes or so. The sun's just starting to set on the other side of the lake, but no fish, unfortunately. But between filming this, I've been filming some other products. I have been pinging these rods around to showing fish. I probably fished, well, in total about 16 different casts, trying different depths and things, but it just hasn't come off today unless something happens in the next 20 minutes. But dead easy to use, and not one of those casts were brought in tangled, which can be an issue with Zigs as well, and that's all down to the fact that I can use a much shorter hook length and just change the depth accordingly with the Zig float. So for more information on the Zig float kits, then please head over to the Fox International website. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon.